हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। आज का टॉपिक है लर्निंग सेंटर्ड अप्रोच। तो वीडियो को स्टार्ट करने से पहले चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर लीजिए और बेल आइकन को प्रेस कर दीजिए ताकि आगे आने वाली वीडियोस का नोटिफिकेशन आपको टाइमली मिल सके। तो वीडियो को स्टार्ट करते हैं। लर्निंग सेंटर्ड एजुकेशन focuses on the learning process. Although its primary concern is on the learning of the students, all those involved in the education of students, such as teachers, are also co-learners with the students in the learning-centered education. It is basically learner-centered but includes teachers in the process of learning in a classroom situation. Research has shown that a learning centered education helps students acquire competency in skill areas and creates lifelong learners. For example, when you take your students on a field trip to a new place like a dam or a factory, the students not only learn a great deal from observation and interaction with technical experts and workers, you also learn several aspects of construction, operation, and utility of the organization, which you can further use in developing your understanding and that of your students through mutual discussion. Learning centered education places the student at the center of education. It begins with understanding the educational context from which a student comes. It continues with the teacher evaluating the student's progress toward learning objectives. By helping the student to acquire the basic skills to learn, it ultimately provides a basis for learning throughout life. It therefore places the responsibility for learning on the student, while the teacher assumes the responsibility for facilitating the student's education. This approach strives to be individualistic, flexible, competency based, varied in methodology, and not always constrained by time or place. In other words, advocates a student focused teaching and learning environment, facilitating the exploration of meaning and content knowledge through personal and interpersonal inquiry. The teachers attempt to maximize student productivity, knowledge acquisition, and increasing skills and development of personal and professional abilities. The teachers may hence use a variety of instructional tools and methods as well as flexible arrangements of time and place. Learners assume primary responsibility for their choices and have opportunities to exercise control over their thinking. As a result, there are collaborative partnership among all those who are the stakeholders of children's learning. Some examples of learning centered educational practices are collaborative group learning both inside and outside the classroom, individual student inquiry and discovery by students and teachers together, synchronous interactive distance learning, hands on experiential learning activities, on site field experiences, self placed performance on contextual tasks. Characteristics of the learning centered education. The major characteristics are the following. Students construct knowledge through gathering and synthesizing information and integrating it with the general skills of inquiry, communication, critical thinking, problem solving, and so on. Emphasis on using communicating knowledge effectively to address enduring and emerging issues and problems in real life context. The teacher's role is to coach and facilitate. The teacher and students evaluate learning together. Teaching and assessing are interwoven. Promote and diagnose learning. Emphasis on generating better questions and learning from errors. Desired learning is assessed directly through papers, projects, performances, portfolios, etc. Approach is compatible with interdisciplinary investigation. Culture is cooperative and supportive. Teacher and students learn together. According to Weimar, there are 5 practices that need to change to achieve learning centered teaching. The functions of content. In addition to building a knowledge base, the content facilitates students in this approach to practice using inquiry or ways of thinking in the discipline, learn to solve real problems, understand the function of the content, why it is learned, build content or discipline specific learning methodologies, build an appreciation for value of content, help students develop a way to learn through the content and make meaning out of content. The role of the teacher. The teacher creates an environment that fosters students' learning, accommodates different learning styles, motivates students to accept responsibility for learning, explicitly aligns objectives, teaching methods, and assessment consistently, utilizes multiple teaching techniques appropriate for student learning goals, design activities in which students interact with the material, the teacher, and each other, inspires and encourages student ownership of learning. The responsibility for learning. Although the responsibility of learning is shared between the teacher and the students, it is expected that the students take the overall responsibility for learning and assessment. As a consequence, students develop learning skills for further learning, become self directed lifelong learners, can and do assess their own learning, become proficient at self assessment, become proficient with all information literacy skills. The processes and purposes of evaluation. Assessment in learning centered education is more holistic and integrated with learning. It comprises of integrated assessment, formative assessment with constructive feedback, peer and self assessment, multiple opportunities to learn and demonstrate mastery. Students encouraged to justify their answers. Students and teacher agree on feedback timeframes. Authentic assessment is used throughout. The balance of power. It is the students more than the teacher who has the control over their own learning. Therefore, the teacher needs to make deliberate efforts to empower the students to assume control over their learning. Students are encouraged to explore additional content. Students are encouraged to express alternative perspectives whenever appropriate. Use of mastery or contract grading assignments are open ended. Students take advantage of opportunities to learn. का टॉपिक आई होप आपको पसंद आया होगा. प्लीज़ इसे लाइक एंड शेयर ज़रूर कीजिएगा. थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग.